Hey guys, Nikki here, writing for Jesus. Okay, so today is the day to do the audio version of my second book, Eye of the Storm. So the first book is A Change in the Winds. I already did the audiobook for that one. If you'd like to listen to that one, feel free to do that one first. These books can be read as standalones, but I really think it is better to do them in order. Both books are Christian fiction mystery about a young private investigator trying to solve the murder of her parents. So she solves the case in the first book. The second book is just a continuation of her life. And so let's go ahead and dive in and meet the characters. Okay, so this is Detective Harrison, homicide detective, who helped her solve the case in the first book. He has kind of become another father figure to her. This is Anika's father, Dr. Richard Veinta, and then this is her mom, Vanessa Veinta. And then there's Anika. Those are the same eyes that I used for the cover of the book. And so she can tell she looks a lot like her mama. And then these are inspiration for Cameron. He doesn't look exactly like this, but these are inspiration. This is a new character. This is Celia Garner. So these two pictures really represent her. It's kind of like a combination of these two girls. That is her. She's a new friend of Anika's. This is Patrick Gould. That is exactly what he looks like. That is Celia's boyfriend. This is Mark. This is Patrick's best friend. This is just inspiration for Crystal. That's Anika's friend and employee at Cup of Kindness. And then this is exactly what Jake Stern looks like in the book, her other employee at Cup of Kindness. All right, without further ado, let's jump into the blurb. When Hanika Veinta solved the murder of her parents, she thought the nightmare was over. But all too soon, another storm is on the horizon, targeting her and Cameron's relationship. And things only get worse when Anika's new friend Celia is suspected of murder. With danger in the shadows and conflict at every turn, Anika and Cameron must answer the question, will you allow the winds to knock and keep you down? Or will you choose to remain faithful in the eye of the storm? To you, my Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and your Son, Yeshua, thank you for being with me through every storm. Chapter 1. Hanika Veinta pushed the door open to her beloved coffee shop. The door seemed heavier today. Sighing, she set her purse on the back counter, grabbed her apron, and prayed again. Please help me have a good attitude, Lord. I'm still annoyed, but I don't want to be. She needed to get it off her mind. Work hard, have fun with her employees, focus on others. Foggy windows and a stain on the floor begged for her attention, but she felt drained and lifeless, like her blood had been replaced with lead. Even the apron strings weren't cooperating. Crystal, her forever friend, popped her head out of the back room, curly brown locks swishing. Hey, girl! Anika forced her lips to lift. Hey, come on, Anika, snap out of it, she thought. Managing a sloppy bow for her apron tie, she then turned on the faucet and washed her hands. So, how was it? How was the play last night? Crystal asked. There it was, the reminder slapping her, bringing heat to her cheeks and tension to her shoulders. Reining in her emotions, Anika simply said, I wouldn't know. What? What do you mean? Drying her hands, Anika pressed her lips together and turned around to face her. Cameron forgot about it. He forgot to pick me up. Again? Crystal's mouth dropped open. You've got to be kidding me. She scoffed. I wish I was. But what happened? How did it... When he was late picking me up, I called him. I was worried he had gotten into an accident or got a flat tire. She folded her arms across her chest. He was at the gym. No way. Yes way. Working out like he didn't have anything else better to do. Anika rubbed the back of her neck. I know he's been busy. I know he's been under some stress lately, but This whole forgetting excuse is getting really old. I'm sorry, girl. Frowning, Crystal gave her a hug. Boys are dumb. Yeah, boys are dumb. But Cameron wasn't a boy. He was a man. At least that's what she used to think. She used to think Cameron was a dream come true. He was always there, always comforting and strengthening. But now, every time she turned around, he had forgotten something, or seemed so distracted and distant, Annika was beginning to question whether that Cameron she knew and loved had existed at all. Crystal held her by the shoulders. Hey, what if we TP his house? That would burn off some steam, but kind of like in a playful way. Annika smirked. Nah, it's okay. She turned and began to set out more snacks in the display case. Besides, he's not at his house anymore. He's living with Stu. Crystal picked up the coffee pot, a mischievous glint in her eye. We could always TP Stu's house. Annika only shook her head, repositioning a blueberry muffin. Cameron's favorite kind. The bell jingled above the door, announcing Jake's arrival. Hello, ladies. Crystal waved. Hello, gentlemen. Hi, Jake, Annika said. He pulled out a pen and jotted something down on a shopping list tacked to the bulletin board. I was going to head to the store later, buy some supplies. Y'all need anything? Yes. Crystal started counting on her fingers. We need toilet paper? Shaving cream? No! Annika shot a stern look in her direction. Crystal ignored her. Shaving cream? She repeated. Oh, and maybe some plastic forks. Crystal, you are not going over there, Annika stated. Come on, she whined. It'll be fun. When Jake gave her a questioning glance, Crystal explained. Cameron forgot to take Annika to a play last night, so we're going to prank him. Annika put a hand to her forehead, wishing away the headache coming on. I really do appreciate the thought, but I'm fine. She tossed them each a rag and then grabbed one for herself. Let's see if we can clean the windows before we get too busy. The two nodded and set off to work. Annika joined them, relieved she had succeeded in changing the subject. Yet she still couldn't get Cameron off her mind. Memories of meeting him here at Cup of Kindness drifted back, the two of them sitting in a booth, laughing and talking. How long had it been since she'd taken his hand, greeted that handsome face for the first time? A year? Well, no matter how long it had been, their friendship had been great from the moment it began. Until recently. Their task completed, Annika threw her hand towel in a bin. Annika, Crystal began, whenever you've had a problem or needed some advice, you've called your aunt and uncle. Maybe you should go see them. Maybe. I don't want to hurt Cameron's feelings, though. With everything that's happened, Crystal waved it off. No, really, sometimes guys need a little space, too. I think the break would do you both some good. Are you sure you and Jake would be okay without me for a few days? It's been busy with the cold weather. And if it's cold here in Texas, I'm going to be freezing in Denver. Oh, come on, we've done it before. You know we can handle. Right, Jake? Crystal glanced at him, pulling chairs off the tables and plopping them on the floor. Jake! He jerked, startled. What? Crystal gestured to him and then to herself. You and me, we got this, right? When Annika goes on her much-needed vacay? He gave a thumbs up. Oh, yeah! Annika laughed. I guess that settles it. All right, then. I'll start looking for tickets. She wrapped an arm around Crystal's shoulders. Thanks, girl. No problem. Annika smiled, embracing the day with new energy. As soon as she got home, she'd call her aunt and uncle, see what their schedule was like. With the idea now planted in her brain, Annika couldn't wait to see them. 1 week later, Cameron Baines flipped through the channels, munching on some stale cereal for an early breakfast. He hated to waste. Staying here with his best friend Stu had been a great idea, just like old times in college, playing video games and eating pizza, or stale cereal. Yet when he thought of the reason why he moved out of his childhood home, Cameron felt sick. Stu stepped into the living room. Check out what I ordered! It finally came in last night. Cameron mentally shook himself free of the thoughts. Is that a metal detector? He asked. Yeah, I used to have one when I was younger. Me and my brother and sister would take turns looking for stuff on the beach. Cameron smiled, watching him walk around with his prized possession. Cool. It's really cool. I'm going to test it out, see if there's anything in the front yard. Stu opened the door. What in the world? Cameron set down his snack. What is it? He asked, rising. You better come see. When Cameron reached the door, his jaw dropped. Toilet paper lined the trees, dangled from the roof, and covered the mailbox. Not to mention, the entire lawn had been forked. Stu grinned and shook his head. I wonder who did it. I'll give you 3 guesses. First 2 don't count. Cup of Kindness crew? AKA our Bible study group? They laughed. Ding, 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 you got it. Cameron began picking up forks. You think they left a note? Stu set down the metal detector and started wadding toilet paper into a ball. Oh, I'm sure it was a mile-long love note from Hanika to you. He acted as if he was reading from the toilet paper roll. Dear Pookie Bear, I miss you so much. Cameron threw a handful of forks at him. Stu returned the favor. The toilet paper fork battle began, and so Cameron's phone rang. Laughing, he grabbed it from his back pocket, holding up a hand in surrender to Stu. Annika's sweet face smiled at him from the screen. Oh, there she is, my Pookie Bear. Swiping to answer, he put the phone to his ear. Hi, beautiful. How's it going? Cam, where are you? Are you on your way? Cameron's eyebrows furrowed. You were supposed to take me to the airport, remember? He gasped. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hang on, I'm on my way. She exhaled. Cam, forget it. I'll get Crystal to take me. She's closer. No, I'm coming right now. I promise. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Hanging up, he dashed inside to grab his keys. He looked in his room, on the counter, on the coffee table, then stuffed his hands in his pockets. Bingo. Huffing out of breath, Cameron tore through the house and launched off the porch, skipping the steps entirely. Cam, what's the matter? Stu watched him, armful of forks and toilet paper. You trying to leave me with all the work? I gotta take Annika to the airport. I'll see you later. Starting the engine, Cameron shifted his Mustang in reverse, ignoring the shaving cream on the rear window. Fiddling with her bracelets, Annika slouched in the passenger seat while Cameron drove to the airport. He had forgotten about her. Again. How could he, though? Why was Annika suddenly so expendable? She hoped they could ride in silence, so her tongue wouldn't rebel and say something she'd regret. But no, of course. Cameron tried to explain himself. Annika, I'm really sorry I forgot. I can't seem to focus lately. She sighed, choosing her words carefully. It's just, Cameron, this hasn't been a one-time event. It seems like you don't care about the relationship. About me, if I'm not forgettable. No, nothing can be further from the truth. I love you, Annika, with everything in me. Annika processed that comment, staring straight ahead. He seemed sincere. He always did. But then action spoke louder than words. Cameron let his foot off the gas as the traffic thickened. So, how long are you going to be there? A week. He glanced at her. Are my ears going to be burning? Yeah, she squirmed. Listen, I'm not going to be bashing you. I just want some space to get a clear perspective. My Theo and Thea have always given me good advice. He nodded. So, if we break up, I have them to blame. Shocked, she turned to him and saw a playful grin on his face. I'm kidding. He was laughing now. I'm kidding. Don't kid about stuff like that, Cam. It's not funny. His smile faded. He focused on the road again. How long are you going to be there? She shot him a sideways look. A week, she repeated. He gripped the wheel with both hands as they rounded a curve. No, really, I want you to see them and have a good time. To be honest, I haven't been feeling like myself lately. There's been a lot going on, but that's no excuse. He pulled into the airport, maneuvering around all the cars, people, and luggage. Her stomach did a flip-flop. Because of his words, or because she was about to ride in an airplane, she wasn't sure. Didn't matter how many flights she took. Didn't matter how many terminals she walked through. She hated flying. And what Cameron just said now about not feeling like himself, what did that mean? Guys never let on with clues or hints. Was he feeling sick? Or just stressed and getting weird vibes? From her. Putting those thoughts on the back burner, Annika exited the car and grabbed her purse. As Cameron pulled out her suitcase, she wondered if this was such a good idea. Was the distance, this trip, going to hurt rather than heal? Should they have gone together? Duh! Why hadn't she thought of that earlier? Her uncle could have counseled them both, gotten both sides of the story. It was too late to invite Cameron now. Besides, the way she was feeling, she knew she needed a break from him. The drive up here had confirmed that. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? Oh, he's talking. Whoops. And give your aunt and uncle a hug for me. She nodded. Will do. Cameron's eyes softened. Despite the hustle and chaos around them, for that moment, it seemed it was just the two of them. And all at once, Hanika felt emotion wash over her. Taking a step closer, Cameron engulfed her in an embrace. She hugged him back, yet somehow she felt distant. She closed her eyes as Cameron prayed for a safe flight, a fun trip, and for guidance. That he'd be the man Hanika needed and deserved. A lump formed in her throat. A month ago, Cameron was already everything she needed, everything she didn't deserve. But now? Cameron finished with a hoarse amen, but didn't let go. Hanika, I'm really sorry, he whispered. Blinking hard, she patted his back and released him. I know. Before she had the chance to cry, Hanika picked up her suitcase and walked away. In his office, Cameron sat in his chair, knowing he should be working, be doing something, but not having the energy. It had only been a few hours since he'd seen Hanika, yet he felt the void. Probably because they had parted on such bad terms. He had texted to make sure she had arrived safely. She had responded, but he could still feel tension through the screen, bouncing off the words. How could he make things right? Daphne poked her head into the office, drumming her fingers on the door. Hey, Matt Sterling called. He's running a few minutes late. Can you still squeeze him in? Cameron glanced at the clock on the wall. He's coming now? I thought he was scheduled for tomorrow. He had to reschedule. I told you right before lunch, remember? He didn't. Oh, right. Yeah, that's fine. Cameron ran a hand through his hair. Also, line 1 is for you. Okay, thanks. Once she had closed the door, Cameron stood and cleared his throat, picking up the phone. Dr. Baines? Dr. Baines, this is Maria Holt. Do you have a minute? Of course. He leaned against the counter. What can I do for you? Well, I wanted to let you know that I'm sorry, but I won't be able to bring Eddie to see you anymore. He straightened. No, not another one, he thought. Oh, I've treated him ever since he was a baby. He's one of my favorites. I know. Her voice sounded pained. But my husband doesn't feel comfortable with us using you as our pediatrician ever since everything that happened with your father last year. Cameron's stomach bottomed out. His words caught on a dry laugh. Well, he doesn't work here anywhere anymore. You know, I was just as surprised as anyone. Yes, I know, and I'm sorry, but my husband feels very strongly about this, and I don't want him to worry. Cameron felt like he was on autopilot, answering numbly. Yes, of course, I understand. I'm very sorry, Dr. Baines. I want you to know that I have full confidence in you, and Eddie and I think you are the best pediatrician out there. He found a small smile. Thank you, Mrs. Holt. I appreciate that. God bless you. God bless you too. I wish you well. Goodbye. Goodbye. Cameron hung up the phone, a 1,000-pound weight crushing his chest. First his father, then his patients, and now possibly... Please God, I can't lose Hanika too. Grabbing the oil from the top shelf of the pantry, Hanika handed it to her aunt. She had really needed this. Needed to get away and have some fun with her family. She stirred the meat, the spices wafting up to her. Cameron loved tamales almost as much as she did. She wondered what he was doing right now. Her mind flitted back to their last encounter, him nearly in tears. Why hadn't she forgiven him? After what happened to her parents, Hanika found herself saying, I love you and I forgive you more quickly and hugging friends and family more often. Because she wasn't promised tomorrow. No one was. So why hadn't she forgiven Cameron? Pride. Aunt Sylvia said, You'll need to pack some of these tamales in your suitcase. Take some for Cameron. Yeah, I'm sure he'd like that. Uncle Isaac came up from behind, wrapping an arm around Anika's neck. How is he, by the way? He's fine, she heard herself say. He is fine, her aunt said. Handsome man you have there. Better hold on tight to him. Hanika forced a smile. Before she knew it, the three were sitting down, eating the delicious, hard-earned meal. So, Nika, how are things? Her uncle asked, taking a bite. Hanika took a deep breath. Please guide this conversation, Lord. Actually not so great. I was wanting to get some advice. The silverware clinked as they lowered their utensils, focusing solely on her. Her heart warmed at the simple yet meaningful gesture. Of course, sweetheart, Aunt Sylvia said. What's been going on? Her uncle asked. Hanika cut her tamale in bite-sized pieces, giving her something to look at. Cameron and I are kind of going through a rough patch right now. I feel like the last month or so, pretty much ever since we became an official couple, he's been acting differently. He's been so forgetful about me. Really? Uncle Isaac asked. Yeah. Hanika felt herself getting worked up all over again, relaying the incidents to them. They allowed her to vent, listening patiently. He has no valid excuse or explanation. He just keeps saying he forgot and he's got a lot on his mind. He apologizes and seems so sincere, and then boom, next day he forgets another date, another special occasion. It's just so weird. It's getting really annoying and it hurts. I'm sorry, sweetheart. Aunt Sylvia rested a hand on hers. That's strange. That doesn't sound like Cameron. No, it doesn't, Hanika answered. Has something happened recently? Her aunt asked. Not that I can think of. Everything was great. And then, for no apparent reason, he started acting distant, distracted. Her aunt nodded, concerned, pensive. Her uncle, on the other hand, looked like he was about to snap his fork in half. Do you need me to come down there? I can fly back with you over the weekend, have a talk with him. Hanika put up a hand, nearly laughing. No, Theo, it's okay. I don't want him to think we're ganging up on him. Aunt Sylvia patted his white knuckles. Easy, Papa Bear. Let's look at this, said Cameron, with the right perspective, all right? I'm sorry. You know how protective I am of our girl. And I appreciate that. Hanika smiled. Since you're a man, Theo, I hoped, you would have an idea about what's going on in his brain. Any thoughts? Her uncle let out a breath, taking a moment to simmer down. Well, I don't know Cameron as well as you do, but from my own experience, I suppose I can easily become distracted and forgetful, especially when there's a lot going on. Oh, yes, and he still does that to this day, her aunt insisted. He's watching TV, and I ask him 2 or 3 times to take out the trash, and he doesn't do it because you're not asking during a commercial, he said. All 3 busted up laughing, reminding Hanika of similar moments with her parents. Once she caught her breath, Hanika confessed. Now that you mention it, I guess Cameron has been distracted with his work and his dad. When they looked at her expectantly, she finished. He's been losing patience at the clinic because of what his father did, and his father won't see him or return his calls. In fact, Cameron hasn't seen him since he was arrested, which I'm fine with, but I know Cameron wants to see him. Her uncle blinked. That is a lot, Nika. We all have been recovering from last year's revelation. Finding out his adopted father was the one who killed your parents. That's going to especially weigh heavy on Cameron's shoulders. I'm sure he feels somewhat responsible and guilty for your pain. Hanika glanced at her getting cold food. Why did she suddenly feel like crying? Now, on top of all that, he's losing patience and his father won't see him. But if he feels guilty, then why is he taking it out on me? She asked. I'm trying to get his mind off stressful stuff, trying to help him. But I can't do that if he won't spend time with me. She rubbed her forehead, and slowly she released another fear, an errant thought of insecurity. Do you think this is going to be another Maxwell situation? I thought he was great when I first met him, but that soon blew up in my face. No. And Sylvia shook her head. Maxwell was a charmer, nothing more. From what I've seen, Cameron is a good man. Just seems like he's struggling with some things. Yeah. Hanika relaxed a fraction as she took a sip of her soda. It's still not right what he's been doing, but after hearing all that, I can understand it a little more. So are you saying I just accept it? Hanika asked. Lie? Pretend everything's fine? No, but be patient with him, her uncle said. Put yourself in his shoes. Being angry with him will only make things harder. Uncle Isaac's voice softened. You know, to be honest, when I was there visiting last, when I looked at you and Cameron, I saw your mother and father. Pressure built behind Anika's eyes. That's something you don't want to give up on. I don't want to give up. I can see myself being married to Cameron. But is this what he's going to be like every time something stressful happens? Trials are supposed to bring us closer to God and to each other. Cameron showed me that. He was a big part in helping me find my faith again. But lately, it's like he's not letting me help. He's ignoring me, pushing me away. Why? I don't know, he whispered. I'm sorry, honey, for what's been going on. He took her hand, his gaze locked in hers. But one thing I do know, Cameron cannot be your source of happiness. She glanced at the salt and pepper, rubbing her aching throat. Your ultimate joy does not come from Cameron. It comes from God. You'll always be okay because you'll always have him. No matter what happens between you and Cameron, focus on doing what's right and leave the rest to God. He's going to take care of you, I promise. Hanika nodded. Your uncle's right. That's all any of us can do. Do right and trust God. Her aunt smiled. Most people would give up at the first sign of trouble or try to figure it out themselves. But I love that you came here for advice, that you value our opinion. We're proud of you. So keep loving Cameron, keep being honest with him, and keep praying for him. She took their hands. Speaking of that, let's pray. Ask the Lord to help you and Cameron get through this. Thank you, Hanika whispered. She cleared her throat, regaining strength in her voice. I'm hoping this trip will do me and Cameron some good. I'm going to take your advice to heart, really think about him first. But if things don't get better, I may give you a call, Theo. Of course, he grinned. You just say the word and I'll put him over my knee. With a tearful laugh, Hanika lowered her head, and together they laid everything at the feet of Jesus.